back for another ride. This is the place to call home for racing. As the popularity of NASCAR continues to grow, the Fox family of networks proud to present another season of high-speed excitement. The fourth year of FX's coverage of NASCAR racing begins right now from the North Carolina Speedway known with affection and anger as The Rock. Time for the NASCAR Busch Series pre-race show on FX and the start of what should be a wild weekend here in Rockingham. Terrific weather to get things going. But first, last week, Nextel Cup down in Florida. The Daytona 500, Dale Earnhardt Jr., the ride of his life as he wins the Daytona 500 in only his fifth try. In fact, a big week of winning the Busch race at Twin 125 and first time that Jr. has ever led in the Cup points race. But Dale Jr. has never finished in the top 10 at the Rock. With a win Sunday, his name will go located just outside the racetrack where all the winners go who make it through Rockingham. And Rockingham, the town located in the sandhills of southeastern North Carolina. And for 2 days, this sparsely settled area will be a loud roar of motors and the screams of thousands of fans. It'll be noisy and hopping, the place to be. And of course, the fans demand the Hollywood Hotel be parked trackside overlooking the start-finish line as we go to where the races are to bring you just a little bit closer to the action on the pre-race show. Hi, and welcome up, Chris Myers. I'm good to be back in the driver's seat as we crank it up to get going. And from the headliners like Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, to drivers out to make a name for themselves like Kyle Busch, Johnny Sauter, and Martin Truex Jr. And from now into July, if there's Nextel Cup or Busch Series action in the garage, the pits around the track, we're here to bring you. Enjoy former crew chief, sidekick, Mr. Fix-It, Mr. Good Wrench, Jeff Hammond. Nice to see you again.
Hey, man, good to see you. Oh, man, ready to go.
Been working out again in the offseason. Okay, now you will about this track. This is a place where it's a survival of the fittest. Right?
No, Chris. No? This time, survival of the smartest.
Oh, well, that leaves us out.
Well, but the thing is, it brings in these drivers because they've got to be smarter today. If you want to have a good run here today, folks, you're going to have to be your head as well as your foot because tires and making sure you don't overuse those will be the key.
All right, we know about the cup change, but a little more.
It's going to make it better in some ways, Chris, but with the
from Tallahassee, Florida. And now we send you out to Las Vegas.
And we welcome you live to Las Vegas Motor Speedway, where NASCAR Nationwide Series action on this very fast and very tricky mile-and-a-half track is about to get underway. The cars are fired along the pit lane, about to roll off, and race 3 of the 2013 season takes the green flag in just moments from now. Glad you've joined us for our ESPN exclusive coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Top stories on the day: Kyle Busch returning to Joe Gibbs Racing for this season in nationwide competition, dominating the field last Saturday at Phoenix, but frustrated in this series at his hometown track. Kyle, a Las Vegas native, starts 23rd today. Can he get that breakthrough nationwide series win at his home track? Qualifying rained out because of damp weather yesterday. They used the time scheduled for qualifying this morning for a practice session, so the field lined up according to NASCAR rules, essentially last year's owner points. So Brian Vickers in that bright yellow 20 with Joe Gibbs Racing gets pole position for today's race. You'll see the starting lineup along the top of your screen very shortly. Our ESPN in-race reporter today is one of the Joe Gibbs Racing drivers, Elliott Sadler, getting ready to go. New look, new team for Elliott this year, but the same desire to win. Let's talk with him.
Hey, Elliott, Dale Jarrett, the ESPN. Our first question is it comes from our mailbag, and one of your many fans in Texas. What's the biggest difference coming from the Chevys of RCR to the JGR Toyotas this year?
Well, it's just that side of the car, my office, is a lot different. You know, a lot of the terminology, a lot of things that we use. The steering's a little different, the throttle system, the brakes. It's just working, going to work in a different place, in a different environment, but very happy with it so far. I'm still learning kind of as we go, and I think each and every race we get to, we're actually going to get better and better and get more comfortable for knowing what we need to be fast in the race.
Hey, Elliott, I know you were looking forward to that practice time they had scheduled yesterday, but very limited amount this morning. You get your car close to where you need it?
Well, we wanted more practice time than we got, only 30 or 40 minutes this morning for our interstate batteries car. Yesterday was a very long day, sitting around here all day waiting for the rain. I'm glad the MGM Grants got great, nice, comfortable beds to sleep in. It was a long day to get rested up for today. But we do have a competition caution. We can make some adjustments then. 300-mile race. We got to come through some traffic, but not the practice that we wanted, but we're all in the same boat.
All right, you have a good day. Hey, just in case it helped you any, when I won my first Daytona 500, I was in the Interstate Batteries car in garage stall number 11. Maybe that'll work. Now Andy's going to talk to your crew chief, Chris Gale.
Good for guys.
Hey, Chris Gale, Andy Petrie up here in the booth. Limited practice today, and your Sprint Cup teammates have had quite a bit of track time. With this new Gen 6 car, is there that they can find out that can help you here today?
You know, Andy, I think most of the things we talked to them about are tire pressure related, scuffs versus stickers, and kind of some shock package information that you struggle with kind of here for the bumps. Other than that, not a lot of transfers other than kind of direction the track may be going. That's about all we can really take from it.
Well, let's hope you made the most of that little short practice you had, and good luck today. Thanks for talking to us, Chris.
Thanks, Andy.
So new team for Elliott Sadler, new crew chief for him, and our over-the-wall reporter today, Chris Taylor, the rear tire changer. Elliott Sadler is in a new situation as well. Chris, you won 9 times with Joey Logano last year, but a little different circumstance this year.
Yeah, definitely. We had an opportunity to win an Owners Championship last year, but this year we're racing for points, trying to get Elliott a driver championship, hoping to put this Interstate Batteries Toyota Camry up front today and get us a win.
Chris, have a great race down there. Thanks for carrying.
All right, thanks, guys.
Chris Taylor, rear tire changer for Elliott Sadler today. He's got one of our high-definition cameras. The other high-definition onboards that you'll see in the race cars today being carried by Brian Scott, the Nationwide Insurance camera. There's Austin Dillon with our Advocare on board. Trevor Bain has got the American Ethanol camera. Elliott Sadler, the Toyota on board. Brad Kozlowski, the Ford EcoBoost camera. And Justin Allgaier has our Chevy on board.
Normal deal here, no mistakes, nice and smooth. Let's have some fun here.
Justin with that Chevy on board. Here's Kyle Busch with our Goodyear on board. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. starting deep in the field with the Nationwide Insurance camera. Final stories from pit road on the final pace lap before the green. Here's Jamie Little.
Well, Alan, one driver who's off to a great start this season is Justin Allgaier. He's tied at the top of the points standings with Sam Hornish Jr. And now today, he happens to be at his best racetrack. In 4 starts, he's finished in the top 10 all 4 times. However, the only practice session they had, he was mid-pack. They're going to rely on that experience and hope that that will be enough to get him to victory lane. Dr. Jerry Punch.
Major objective in the offseason for Sam Hornish and the Penske team was find a way to finish strong. You know, new crew chief Greg Irwin watched every race last year and said, you know what, the miscues and mistakes came in the final 30 laps. He said, guys, football teams get in the red zone and realize they've got to score. For a race team, the red zone is the final 30 laps. That's when we've got to get it done. If we do it like that today, we might win a race or maybe a championship. Alan?
All right, Doc, thanks. So as we are a half a lap from the green, and NASCAR is scurrying a safety truck out to pick up a last-minute piece of debris on the apron of the track. They're saying we should be good to go, that the truck should be clear in time to start the race. Mile-and-a-half track, 300 miles. It's 200 laps to make up the distance today. This is a place where fuel mileage has become a factor before, and with a very limited amount of practice just this morning, and some of these teams really taking wild adjustment setups in the garage, some of these drivers have no idea what their car's going to do when they sail off into turn 1.
Some of them have an idea and they don't like it. Some of them from practice didn't like their cars, so we'll see what kind of changes they made and see how they work.
Yeah, and one thing I'm looking at, Brian Vickers has chosen the inside lane to start this race. Last year in this race, the outside lane was the preferred lane that the drivers took that did well. So we'll see how this works for Brian.
That roar from the fans and that sight of the pace car. Turn it onto the pit lanes, all you need to know. We are ready to start the Samstown 300 at Las Vegas for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Vickers inside in the yellow car. Outside is Bain in the 6.
Well, Vickers drove the thing off into turn 3 and made that work. It looked like Bain was going to have the preferred line.
Yeah, the turn through turns 1 and 2, it looked like Trevor Bain had the advantage, but Brian Vickers took that lead on purpose.
Whoa, Justin Allgaier, hang on to that 30 close. And that thing sideways at the start-finish line. That I said about some of these guys had no idea what their car was going to do, especially when you get bumped.
Yeah, he was one of those cars that wasn't that great in practice, but boy, that'll help you get loose.
Yeah, that could have been really big right there.
Ty Dillon in the 33 today for Richard Childress Racing. Third place, Brad Keselowski, 22 on Trevor Bain in the 6.
He's picking that 33 right there. We'll have to watch that car. He could have got some damage on that right front and could have possibly damaged right front tire here.
Trouble, turn 2.
4, drop down all the way to the apron. Transmission just blew, something just broke here. I think we blew up, guys.
Eric said transmission in that 14 car. That is the team car to Mike Bliss that had a transmission problem in practice today.
It had a lot of smoke coming out the exhaust pipe. Usually you don't see that when a transmission fails.
We do see the yellow flag just 3 laps into this race, continuing a trend here at Las Vegas of a lot of caution flags in these races in the first dozen laps.
Yeah, that's Eric McClure going. Look, he knows he's got a problem when he gets into the corner. See most of the smoke coming out the right side of the car.
And the driver 13th in the championship coming into the race is going to make that left turn into the garage in the very early going. Caution out early at Las Vegas with Brian Vickers leading the opening laps. With Nellis Air Force Base as the backdrop, you look as the cars work the backstretch of the Las Vegas Motor Speedway under the caution flag. Caution out. And Eric McClure had a problem that looked to be under the hood of the 14 car, and the cleanup crews are just about done with their business. Dale Earnhardt Jr. starting pretty far back in the field at the green flag, Dave, but he's moved up a little bit on the start.
We mentioned in pre-race, Alan, that he called out his crew and was very angry. He actually got on the chip after this little incident with Darrell Haar in the 4 car in practice, but his car was already behaving very badly, and that's when he got angry about his crew, telling them to do something about this race car. Well, they've done it. He's picked up 8 positions since the start of the race, and before the race started, he promised more decorum.
More patient in this race than I was at practice, I promise. And hopefully we got things sorted out. If not, we got a competition caution, and I don't care if you got to pull the hood. We're going to work on it and try to fix it. If it needs a little help, we'll do whatever it takes.
Positive Junior, the owner of Junior Motorsports, letting his team know we're going to get it done.
All right, Dave, thanks. And the field getting the 1 to go signal now. We'll go back racing next time by.
Yeah, it can be frustrating a lot of times when the car's not the way you want it. The drivers sometimes will just get up on the chip like Dave said, and it's sometimes very difficult. But it's usually not the most productive way to get where you need to be.
Doubled up for the restart. Vince, something going on with that double deuce?
Yeah, the 22 of Brad Keselowski. Keselowski a little bit concerned that maybe all the wheels weren't tight. He said he had a pretty significant vibration during those first few laps. But crew chief Jeremy Bullins confirmed with the crew and confirmed with Brad that all wheels were tight. He said it's drivable but loose. Really good through the center. Jeremy told Brad it's going to come to you. Hang in there with it.
All right, Vince, thanks. So Keselowski getting ready to go from the outside of row number 2. Vickers and Austin Dillon bringing the field to the restart. And I mentioned the trend of early cautions continuing at Las Vegas.
Once again.
Yep.
I'm sure you'll have something later in the race, too, won't you?
Think so.
Yeah.
Might not be what you're used to, though.
There's still time for another one before lap.
And still that competition caution coming up at lap 35. Vickers again choosing that inside lane in that bright yellow car. Austin Dillon on the move in that 3.
See, both times down in 1 and 2 on the bottom that Vickers wasn't able to go very well. 3 and 4, though, he's having no problems. See if he can beat Dillon back to the line here. Dillon would like to have his point for leading a lap 2. Believe he's going to get it.
Yes, sir.
He did lead that lap. Still at your door.
Things that makes it so difficult to race side by side down into turn 1. You get that aero looseness because you're not getting all the air on your car. Then you add in the bump factor that's there. Makes it very difficult, but you see Vickers that was able to negotiate it very well that time, take the lead back.
It is kind of weird to see the cars just kind of like skittering through the corner sometimes the way they appear.
Yeah, and you see a lot of cars are worse than others, and that's what most of the cars that struggled in practice are struggling with that. Regan Smith in the 7, I talked to him in the garage after practice. He said he almost needed a mouth guard that the bumps were so rough with his race car.
Second place, Brad Keselowski 22, Austin Dillon 3. Chasing down the mystery of the early vibration for the 22, but it certainly isn't costing him any speed.
And I got to think, Dale, on tracks that are as bumpy as this one, a vibration has to be almost amplified.
Yeah, it really is. It makes it difficult a lot of times to be able to distinguish a little bit, but it gives you more pause for concern whenever you do have those bumps and have that vibration too. So, but Brad Keselowski seems to be fine with whatever he had going on.
7, Regan Smith, 31. Justin Allgaier in the 8th and 9th positions, with Elliott Sadler right behind them in the 11.
I don't think any of those 3 drivers we were just showing were totally happy with their cars in practice. They'll probably look forward to that competition caution.
One thing that happened, though, is the Cup cars got 2 practice sessions on the racetrack after the Nationwide cars were on it. So I think that the track has changed some, and it may have come to some of the guys that were struggling in the first practice.
Kyle Busch already up to 13th place. started 23rd. And Kyle Larson, the young phenom out of California, right with him. 32 car, started in 13th. He's kind of holding station at the moment, but it wouldn't be a bad thing to follow that 54.
But no, he raced hard with Jimmy Johnson in Phoenix last week, so he can hang with Kyle Busch here. Be a quick learning lesson for the young man.
Here's 9th place here. Sadler in the 11, Allgaier in the 31.
But Elliott and I were teammates at Robert Yates Racing. We went to certain tracks, and Kentucky would be a place that we would go test, and it was rather bumpy. Elliott was really good in getting his car over the bumps. Really good at working the throttle through that, not overdriving it, but making a lot of speed.
One of the things I noticed after the practice session, I looked at the cars in the garage area, and I could see that the setup was quite a bit different on this 11 car than the other Gibbs cars, or in particular the 20 car of Brian Vickers. So they're going at this a little different, and it'll be interesting to see just who has the best setup today.
Here's something else I noticed when that shot looking forward from Allgaier to Elliott Sadler's back bumper. They call them the mouse ears on the spoiler. Just got one on the rear deck of that 11 car, just on the right side, none on the left.
Yeah, that's interesting to see. They do have that discretion. NASCAR gives them that of how they use those ears. And if you don't run, the least amount of that gives you the most straightaway speed, the less drag. But it does cost you a little downforce in the corners.
Not many teams choose that option. Most of them run all the spoiler they can, but an interesting choice there by our in-race reporter for the day, Elliott Sadler and his team.
It's a good observation on your part, Al.
Get lucky every now and then. Brian Vickers, we'll observe, is in the lead and has led most all of the laps so far. Austin Dillon leading a couple, but it's been mostly the Vic out in front.
Why me? I won Daytona.
And here in Las Vegas, there's a new leader in the NASCAR Nationwide Series race. Brad Keselowski, former series champ, reigning Sprint Cup Series champion, has just gone by Brian Vickers and into the #1 spot in this race. It happened a moment ago down in turn 1 when I guess you'll have to say Vickers got the bumps wrong.
Yeah, we talked about how rough these things can be and just how critical it is to make these cars go through the center of the corner. And those bumps make it very challenging.
Hopped over one the wrong way and didn't settle right. And off he went up the track.
Yeah, you have to be back in the gas so much. You can see that car really rotating in the center of the corner, which is a good thing unless you start to get a little bit loose. The back end gets hung out. Hard to catch, but Brian did a nice job. Lost the lead, though.
So third leader of the day is Keselowski, who's quickly put a gap on Vickers. There you see first to second. And this for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Trevor Bayne in the 6, Brian Scott in the 2, and Sam Hornish Jr. in the 12. What a nice start to the season it's been for Brian Scott in this 2, quietly but very consistently knocking off top 10 finishes.
We saw him last year have a lot of really solid runs, but just couldn't ever seem to finish things off. Found themselves with pit road penalties or getting involved in an accident or something like that. You can see the talent that's there.
Yeah, one thing, he drove for a great team with Gibbs last year and has had some success over there. But this particular team is the one that's finished second in the points the last 2 years. This is Elliott Sadler's old ride, and there's a lot of stability over there with that race team. I think that's really helping Brian Scott.
Brian, one of just 3 drivers to have had top 10 finishes in both of this season's opening races. And Vince, right now, he's having another solid day.
Yeah, the race car feels pretty good to him. He says it's a little bit free, but not too bad. And one of the things that I think is making a difference with Brian Scott is just a continuing growing of confidence. He really feels comfortable with this group. It was, as you guys noted, the same team that was on the 2 car last year with driver Elliott Sadler, so there is consistency there, and that's exactly what Brian Scott is looking to develop this season as well from the driver's seat. Just a more consistent performance over the course of the season.
And sometimes as a driver, too, we talked about him being at JGR last year. Yeah, that program's had so much success. We talk about Kyle Busch putting pressure on himself to win here. Well, Brian Scott, I'm sure, was putting pressure on himself, trying to get a little bit more out of it at times because of the amount of success this race, or that race team, that organization has. So I think he feels pretty comfortable where he's at right now.
Kyle Busch, speaking of,
racing his own race car there in the 77 with Parker Kligerman. That's the car that Kyle owns. He's driving the 54 for Joe Gibbs.
Interesting to note, we were talking about those, a lot of folks, including some NASCAR officials, call them mouse ears. We're owned by Disney, so we like the term. But some call them spoiler extensions on the back of the car. It looks like the Joe Gibbs cars are running just the one, and about everybody else in the field has got them on both sides of that back spoiler.
Yeah, that is interesting to see, and that does, like I said, it carries a little more speed with it, raw speed, but it may hurt them in the long run. If they make a long run, you lose a little bit of that downforce, and right now we see Brad Keselowski. He ran the fastest lap on the racetrack last lap. He has both of those ears on his spoiler.
Steady march forward for Kyle Busch today, Doc.
Sure is, Alan. He's up 16 spots in 29 laps. Remember, Kyle told me during the pre-race, he said, I'm going to be patient today. I know what happens here. I end up wanting it too bad and making a mistake. He said after practice also, we moved our chassis set up closer to my teammate, Brian Vickers. So right now, Kyle says the car is very, very loose. They're going to make an adjustment at the competition caution at lap 35, but loose or not, he's moving forward.
You saw the scoring serial on Kyle there. And tying this all in, the discussion with Brian Scott and Kyle Busch, and Kyle talking about trying too hard to win one of these races at his hometown track, and maybe that all ties back into Brian Scott as well. So Kyle in the opening laps, 23rd to 7th now. Darrell Haar in the 4, black flagged for not meeting the minimum speed. He's reporting to pit road. And Brad Keselowski with that much of a gap on Brian Vickers and Austin Dillon with a competition caution about 5 laps away.
Austin Dillon's back in the picture here now. He had fallen back a good ways, but looks like he's got a car that in the long run may be a little bit better than the two front runners.
That's one of the characteristics I've seen out of Austin Dillon the last couple of years. He seems to not necessarily run the fastest after restarts or the start of the race, but when it gets into the meat of the run, he seems to be one of the better cars that can make lap times. And it looks like his car's really good at this point, Dave.
It is, Andy, and DJ, you were right on, too. He knows his car is better. He's just been kind of stalking these guys and not pushing it because they know this caution is going to come out at lap 35. So just a little bit free right now for Austin Dillon, but he's very confident about his race car today.
I always love looking at these shots and how the different drivers go about the same thing behind the wheel. Hand positions, how they use the different muscles in the arms and so on.
And the one thing I noticed is just how rough the car is. You can see it from inside the car with the drivers. You can see how the bumps transfer into the steering wheel and into his arm.
Heard from Travis Pastrana before the start of the race. The report from pit road saying it was an important day for Travis Pastrana. We got that from Vince. Travis up to 22nd now. And you can't overstate the difficulty of the transition that Travis is making and learning these fast, high-speed racetracks under the glare of the spotlight.
Yeah, and one thing he needs to do right now is a couple of more solid laps. The leader's not far behind him, but I think he's going to be able to stay on the lead lap. That'll be a big plus for him to be able to do that, then get in and make some adjustments here in just a couple of laps when we have the caution.
Johanna Long right behind Pastrana there. And there is the leader, that 22 car of Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, we should see the competition caution after most of the cars finish this lap. This is lap 35 when they said they were going to have that competition yellow.
The way NASCAR does it often is they will let the leader complete that 35th lap, and then after the lead lap cars mostly cross the start-finish line. That was close.
Might have a caution anyway.
For clarity of scoring purposes, they'll wait till then to put out the yellow flag. Scott Lagasse Jr., backup car in that 8. After a crash in practice earlier this morning when Mike Bliss had a transmission failure right in front of him on the track. And if Lagasse can stay right there and be the first car a lap down at the yellow, he'll at least get the free pass. There's the yellow.
Caution, 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 caution. Competition yellow here. Hey.
So second yellow of the race. This one a NASCAR competition caution because the teams didn't get much practice earlier today, and get the teams an opportunity to both get a look at the tire wear on their cars before anybody goes too far and finds out they've got an issue, and adjust the handling if they perhaps do have a problem. No problems for Brad Keselowski as the leader, except perhaps someone he's keeping an eye on coming up through the pack. That would be Kyle Busch.
Give me some perspective. I know the 54 car is really fast. How's he coming? P7 right now. Hasn't made a whole big move.
Brad knows.
Yeah, he knows who he has to beat today.
And so Keselowski and Jeremy Bullins and all the other drivers and crew chiefs with a chance to regroup here. Greg Irwin talking to Sam Hornish Jr.
I'm not sure exactly what his crew chief thought was a big move, but I mean, that's 16 spots that he's moved up. I consider that pretty significant in 35 laps, but that's just me.
Anybody try 2 tires here?
Oh, yeah, I'd say they will. You know, this is one of those things. I mean, you see Kyle Busch has made up most of his track position, so they may opt for 4 tires and try to make a little adjustment on his car.
Remember, this Vegas pit road is curved. Sometimes people get themselves in trouble with speeding penalties on pit road because of the curves in some of those zones. First chance for the crews to go to work.
Points leader Sam Hornish said, I'm tight in the middle, free in, free off. They're going to go ahead and go with 4 tires, air pressure change, maybe make a chassis adjustment. We're talking about it now. Jamie.
Parker Kligerman says the rear end of his car does not feel like it's in the track. Too loose. Down on the track bar, 4 tires, Vince.
Keselowski, upper right-hand portion of your screen. The car is free, so they're going to make air pressure adjustments in both rears. Also a vibration, so 4 tires, Dave.
Bottom right, second place, Brian Vickers. Lost the lead earlier because of traffic. A 4-tire change now to tighten up his race car. He'll be about 3rd off of pit road. Ellen, maybe 4th?
Because we do have a couple of takers on that 2-tire strategy, Dave. Trevor Bayne and Regan Smith will have just fresh right side tires for the restart. A year ago, that 6 car went to victory lane in this race at Las Vegas. It was driven by Ricky Stenhouse Jr., who went on to win the Nationwide Series championship. He had his work cut out for him a year ago. He had to hold off Mark Martin on a couple of late restarts to get that trophy, but he did it. And Ricky joins us on our broadcast next from Las Vegas.
In the nation, we don't do things halfway.
Working the second caution of the Samstown 300 for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Race 3 of the year for the cars and drivers hoping to displace Ricky Stenhouse Jr. as champion. I'm trying to tie this all together here, and I might have talked myself into a corner, but I know this. The defending winner of this race and the defending Nationwide Series champion has joined us in the booth as we wait the cleanup. Trevor Bayne leading right now in that 6 car. Last year, Ricky drove that 6 car to victory lane here at Las Vegas. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., thanks for the time. I know you'd rather be out there.
That's for sure, man. It's especially seeing it from up here, you see a lot, but you know, this is going to be a great race. They didn't have a lot of practice, and I told Mike and Trevor and those guys that they should be good to go. The sun's coming out, and it was pretty hot and slick last time we were here. Track changed a lot from the morning practice they had till they got out here today, so I'm sure a lot of changes are going on right now.
Okay, you've talked about the track changing, so you've moved from a different car into the Cup car. How much difference is that for you, and how are you kind of handling that adjustment, new crew and everything?
For me, it's tough. You know, these 1.5 miles, I want to charge the corner as hard as I can with the extra 250 horsepower we have in our Zest Ford Fusion today. It does not work that well. You know, the horsepower difference in these cars is so big that you know, you're able to, you can come all the way out of the throttle on the Cup car, let it roll, and then get back to it and actually be a little bit faster. So that's the things that we've been struggling with as a driver.
Well, what do you think about this call Mike Kelly made to get Trevor out there in the lead with these 2 tires?
Glad I'm watching. No, no, Mike's a great crew chief. He did awesome all year long, so he's got a plan.
Okay.
All right, so now we're going to turn around. We're going to turn around and face the racetrack here and call a little race action here as we get ready to go back at it. Here's a look at the restart order for you. Trevor Bayne and Regan Smith with just new right side tires will lead this field around to the green. Then the man who was leading at the caution, Brad Keselowski, established that Scott Lagasse Jr. did get the free pass, had just been lapped by the leader at the yellow flag. And let's see how all this turns out here as they get back up to speed.
Green.
Kyle Busch 3 wide on the apron to turn 1.
Didn't he tell us he was going to be a little more patient?
I think that's what I heard him say since he's been trying too hard at this track.
I just hold my breath to see if they all made it back around. Vane leads. Vickers on the move down low for second spot.
Ricky, I know that you got put in that situation a number of times. 2 tires last year, or over the last 2 years, get you track position, but everybody else gets 4. What goes through your mind in a restart situation like that?
The restarts, man, you can't spin the tires. That's the major key, and you want to clear the guy on the outside of you so that you can get up there, get in your rhythm, and really hit your marks and really try to pull away from these guys. You see these guys on restarts get fanned out. Running the bottom here on the apron on the front straightaway, and it really slows them down. So if you can get out there, get a jump on those guys, you can really set yourself up nice.
Yeah, that 2 tires can actually be worth more. I mean, more speed to just having 2 over 4, having the clean air, than it would be to have the 4 tires.
That's for sure. It's these race cars these days, we're going so fast. The clean air means a lot. You can see the guys back in traffic. Behind the car, their noses are a lot higher. The splitter's a lot higher off the racetrack, and when that happens, you just lose all downforce, and the car doesn't handle as well. So, with Trevor jumping out on that restart, getting out in the lead, that clean air, you see Regan Smith is still sitting second right there. So 2 tires are not much slower right now.
Sam Hornish's car looked good in practice, the first practice session that they had this morning, the little short one. He felt really good about his car. Looks like he's still pretty good.
I was just thinking whatever adjustments Greg Irwin made on that pit stop, that 12 car was really like it, because he has moved up a few spots here since the restart, and aggressively too.
Greg Irwin's a great crew chief. I had a chance to watch and really see what him and Greg Biffle did at Roush Fenway, and sit on their pit box a lot. So Sam's got him a good one right there.
Good look at the field. Pick out your favorites, see where they're running.
So far, I kind of like the call what you're seeing. Both those cars staying out front on those 2 tires. Regan Smith, I talked to him in the garage after that first practice session. He said the bumps were so rough and his setup was so harsh that he needed a mouth guard for the bumps just to go over.
Coming to a racetrack only once a year, it seems like every time you get back there, this place is a lot rougher than I remember, but I think it's because we just only come here once a year, so we don't get that reminder, twice a year.
So are those bumps magnified somewhat in your opinion now with the Cup car, with all that horsepower you're talking about?
I do believe so. I think riding on the bump stops compared to the cool-bound springs that they run over here on the Nationwide side seem to really affect the handling of the car for the Cup cars, and definitely remember it being a little smoother in the Nationwide car.
Well, we saw Kyle Busch make that big charge up from 23rd into the top 10 in the opening laps. We saw him make the 3-wide move on the restart a minute ago, but Kyle has settled back into line right now in 6th.
Still by himself 4 here. Right here, be clear. Clear. Right wind. Just stop. Stop talking. Stop. Your radio is horrible. Throw it away.
I know exactly where he's coming from there. It seems like not too long ago I was thinking the same thing, and so I just hit the radio button there at Homestead. But for a driver, Dale, you know how it is. It's when you're out there and somebody's radio isn't working, I don't think there's anything more frustrating than not being able to hear and somebody talking to you just constantly. It gets pretty annoying at times when you can't hear what they're saying.
Yeah, you should have heard me talking to you at Homestead, the way you were racing.
Austin Dillon by Kyle Busch.
Yeah, I think Kyle's got more problems than his spotter's radio right now. I believe he's fighting an ill-handling car. You can see right there another twitch. When we were with him riding inside a while ago, you could see him make that adjustment. I think that was in the middle of 3 and 4 last time.
Yeah, Ricky, I don't know how much you keep up with the way these setups have developed in this series, but it has been, like you said, the coil bind. You see a lot of teams now doing something a little different on that right front, and I see some of those cars riding the bumps better than the cars that are actually on that coil bind setup.
Yeah, we ventured off into that a little bit last year. I think some of the Gibbs guys were the first to do that, and seemed to, the rougher racetracks, they seem to have a little better handle on it. Last year, here, we didn't have an issue over the bumps and really could roll the middle to the top in 1 and 2 and really kind of get away from those bumps and seemed to help our speed out a lot. But yeah, the difference in setups, from the beginning of last year to the end of last year, they really change over time, and you got to stay up with it. You can't come to a racetrack and say, hey, this is what we ran last time, and expect to be the best.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the defending NASCAR Nationwide Series champ, the defending winner of this race, then driving that Roush number 6. Trevor Bayne is leading today behind the wheel of that car after a 2-tire strategy call by his crew on their last pit stop. Out, and you see Joe Nemechek driving away from the scene of the incident in turn number 2, third yellow flag of the race. Joe with some pretty good damage to that 87 car after contact in the corner set him spinning around. There is the other car with pretty good damage side of it. Think those two are related?
I think they might be, no doubt.
We'll have a look at that in a minute. First, the field coming to the opening of pit road, which is open. Oh boy, this is going to shuffle things up. The leader, Bayne, in. A lot of the other top 10 not in. That's got to be an ugly feeling behind the wheel. Dr. Terry Punch.
Kyle Larson doing a nice job. A little bit free on entry, free on exit, a little tight in the middle. So they want to make sure when you're a rookie, you're trying to learn how to race here. They make adjustments, and they certainly top it off with Sunoco fuel. Dave.
Champion 6 team, really not a lot of debate about it. A wedge adjustment for a car that was starting to get a little bit, it started out on the tight side. Little snug in, little free off. Not a big adjustment. It's full of Sunoco fuel and 4 tires.
Yeah, when you're the leader, sometimes you think that you can drag a lot of guys in with you, but that time he didn't get a lot of takers behind him.
All right, so we'll regroup on where that puts Trevor Bayne for the restart in a minute. First, let's show you now the cause of the caution. Joe Nemechek running in 20th place in turn number 2. Mike Wallace is that orange car.
Like that car might have bottomed out in those bumps down there. Sure jumped up a lane to get into Joe.
And that the result for the Nemechek car. Fortunately, both have driven away. So while we work the caution, remind you about the NBA Sunday Showcase featuring a couple of matchups. 1 Eastern, the Celtics and the Thunder. Then at 3:30, the Bulls and the Lakers. Coverage tips off with Kia. NBA Countdown at 12:30. Celtics Thunder at 1. Bulls Lakers at 3:30. All Sunday on ABC. Doubled up for the restart. Trevor Bayne led at the caution flag. Now he's back in 15th.
I figured they would come down with me, but they all just kept filing out. What do you need from me here? Do you need me just to wait for them all to pit, or do you want me to try to drive up through there? I mean, what do you need? No, we're here to race. 10-4, but hey. I was just saying I didn't know if you need me to save fuel or anything like that. That's why I was asking. No, we got them on fuel now. All right, brother.
There you go. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., the defending nationwide champ, with us as we go green and we go 3 wide. Sam Hornish to the bottom in the 12.
Sam Hornish is definitely not scared to take some chances. You know, when we were able to race with him the last couple of years, he was fun to race around. So he's always a fun one to watch.
Regan Smith in that 7 was the first one to choose the outside there when you had the choice. See if he's not able to make it work. Looks like Hornish is going to take the lead.
I really thought the outside would pay off. I think last year when we were here, we restarted on the outside and was able to hold Mark Martin down there on the last restart and really get out and get away from everyone. So, you know, I think when you get put 3 wide there going in turn 1, I think it really kind of messes 7 up.
So Hornish now the leader, racing for second. Vickers in the 20, Regan Smith in the 7, and Brad Keselowski right there in the 22, along with Kyle Busch in the 54.
Yeah, looks like Kyle Busch's car has a little bit of new life in it after this restart.
Closer to the front.
Yeah.
A little more clean air on the nose of that thing.
Yeah, I was thinking as I saw him go towards pit road that he really wanted to get in and work on his race car, but I don't know if he found something inside there or had a talk with himself maybe. You ever do that?
There was times that you could say I was talking to myself. It generally comes on times when you make a mistake. You know, like a Kansas when we crash our car trying to go win a championship. I think that's when I would do my most talking to myself.
My first thought was when you talk to yourself, did you listen? But we'll set that aside for a moment and check in with Doc.
Yeah, watching Kyle Busch here try to battle for position for third spot, or Kyle trying to battle a 22 car, Brad Keselowski. Kyle said on the radio a moment ago, he said, you know what? He said on the previous restart, this car went from a 1.5 tight to wrecking loose. He said, let's leave it alone and see what we can do. He's going to change a line if he can get up there. And now he's underneath the white line on the bottom of the racetrack to try to adjust the car. And right now he hasn't said any more about it getting loose or sideways. And if he does get loose or sideways, Brad K will be the first to know.
Hey, you're right about that, Doc. So Kyle Busch there racing Keselowski. Position, that's 4th and 5th, with Austin Dillon in 6th in the 3 and Brian Scott 7th in the 2. Hornish with that move for the lead on the restart, driving down below that white line. We saw Kyle Busch try that earlier in the race. The transition at some racetracks when you get down below that line, banking that there is in the tri-oval to the flat that there is on the apron, is maybe a little more severe than it is here.
Yeah, here at Las Vegas, it's a pretty smooth transition. You'll see guys doing it all day long. You know, it's funny. It's, you know, say like a Phoenix, it's really harsh, and we still do it. So
yeah.
I don't know if there's anything that we can learn. It seems like we just keep pressing the issue. And sometimes it doesn't even look any faster. And I noticed that at Phoenix, and when Kyle did it here, it didn't seem like he really gained any ground. It was just, you know, maybe a little less feet to go down the front straightaway. But
and if you don't clear that and make that pass, you've got a terrible angle into turn 1 then, where the bumps are the worst, right?
Definitely. It's you can see the guys running the bottom. The bumps are really bad on the bottom, but it seems like everybody's got their cars handling pretty well over them. You know, I think you see Brian Scott catching Kyle there. He transitioned over into that 2 car, and they seem to have some speed here at Las Vegas.
Yeah, Las Vegas is one of Brian Scott's best racetracks, and then I think, like you say, the RCR cars and the way he's transitioned into them is playing into his favor, but this is one of his best tracks.
Brian, one of the championship hopefuls in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, one of the championship hopefuls, in fact, tied in points for the championship lead starting the day. Justin Allgaier dropping back just a little bit, while Trevor Bayne has just moved past him in that 6 car and works on Pastrana in the 60.
Justin Allgaier had a great run last weekend, and Turner Scott Motorsports, they feel like they've really stepped up their game this year. And talking to the offseason, they did a lot of testing, and they're ready to go this year. So see how that pays off.
So Allgaier back now to 14th spot. Jamie, what's going on there?
Well, I talked to his crew chief, Scott Cipodelli, and I said, what's happening? It sounds like the car is handling okay. He said, we're just down on power. For some reason, we have been slow all day. And just a moment ago, Justin came on the radio and said, I'm trying, but I cannot pass. I don't have the motor to get around him. He's talking about Travis Pastrana ahead of him. Remember, this is a big day for Justin Allgaier. He came in here tied with Sam Hornish Jr. in the points lead, and Sam now, of course, is leading, Alan.
Yeah, Jamie, and a really good look as we watch that onboard from Justin, the helmet bobbing up and down, and just how rough it can be on the driver strapped into one of these machines at 185 miles an hour.
And I'm thinking it's never really easy to pass one of these Fords anyway, is it, Ricky, with that engine?
Roush Yates has done a great job for us over the years, so I know you know how that horsepower is. So these Nationwide cars, it's all about you know, you need great horsepower, but you got to have a great handling race car, because you really got to keep your momentum up through the corner. And a car that's free enough to keep that momentum can look like it has 15 extra horsepower. So definitely got to have both here on these mile-and-a-half racetracks.
On scheduled visit to pit road for Jason White. He's returning to the track now, as Kyle Busch and Brian Scott continue to race there for 6th and 7th place. Sam Hornish Jr. going to the front after the restart and is out in front by 1.4 seconds over Brian Vickers, the current series championship leader, in the #1 position in this race, hoping to go to victory lane. Reminder that you can check out NASCAR.com and watch all the coverage today live from Las Vegas with 10 live camera race views in HD, live chat and live leaderboard. NASCAR.com/racebuddy.
East meet.
Sam Hornish Jr. leading today's NASCAR Nationwide Series race from Las Vegas. And we invite you to go to NASCAR.com for all your latest NASCAR information. We are over a third of the way through the race. Hornish taking the lead just after a restart a little while ago. He's got 2 7/10 seconds on Brian Vickers. Brad Keselowski is third. Austin Dillon is fourth. And that is the race for fifth on back. 7 Regan Smith, 54 Kyle Busch, 2 Brian Scott. Trevor Bayne leading at that last caution flag. Went down pit road when a number of the other front runners didn't. Restarted 15th. And in that 6 car now, Bayne is running in the 10th position, having just passed Ty Dillon in the 33 to get that spot.
See Kyle Larson in that 32. Ricky, have you had a chance to race with him in any series?
We have ran some together. Not many. You know, I haven't been able to go run as many dirt races as I had want to, but he's definitely a great talent, and you know, he can jump in any race car and figure it out. Oh, we got, is that
trouble? Robert Richardson, and the caution's out.
You're good. All set.
Whoa, hang on there.
It's always nice to be able to spin and not hit anything and keep going. That's always a good day.
So 4th yellow flag is out at lap 81. And I'm just thinking back now to the last yellow when Trevor Bayne gave up the lead and came down the pit lane and wound up back in 15th. Now, if you're Mike Kelly and this team, or if it's you behind the wheel of this 6 car this time, you're in 10th.
I would say they're going to come down and get 2 tires at least and try to gain some of that track position back. But, you know, they ran quite a few laps there, so I don't know. I'm not a crew chief. I tell Mike that all the time. Last year, I said, you handle it. You tell me what to do. So, you know, maybe fuel only to try to get the lead there. I don't know what they're thinking.
Be interesting to see. Cause of the caution that sent Robert Richardson spinning around.
Like he just lost it, got away from it.
Whoa,
that was close.
That was close. Brad Sweet.
And it's not over yet. And then that 51 car came back and had to gather it up as well right there. Brian Sieg behind the wheel of the 51 this week, continuing to fill in for Jeremy Clements, who remains on suspension. 51 does get the free pass at the caution, and the pit road is open here for the race leaders. The stops will be at the conclusion of lap 83. Let's see what it's going to be. Particular interest in the 6 car. Doc, you're up first.
All right, Sam Hornish, Allen says he needs to turn better about the first third on entry. He needs some help on drive off, so they're going to make a track bar adjustment, make an air pressure change to help him drive off, and hopefully get it completely full of Sunoco fuel. Vince.
Bottom left of your screen, Brad Keselowski says the balance is neutral. The car's a little better, but it's not faster, so they're going to put some of that air pressure adjustment from last stop back in the car. 4 tires. Dave?
4th place, number 3, Dillon. He had a good race car at the end of the run, so no chassis adjustments for him, full of Sunoco fuel. 2nd place, Vickers, 4 tires, half down on the track bar.
And some strategy indeed being played on the pit lane, including, did I hear somebody say maybe get fuel only on the 6?
Who said you weren't a crew chief?
Well, it's easy to do it from up here, right?
Yeah, it is.
No real consequences, huh, from even if it didn't.
Hey, Ricky, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem. I got you some Zest soap for a long, hard day's work up here.
Andy needs that.
Oh, come on.
Ricky Stenhouse Jr. starting 7th tomorrow in his Zest Ford in the Sprint Cup race, the defending nationwide champ, with us today at Vegas.
Friday night, buddy.
While we wrap up the caution here at Bristol, here at Vegas, remind you about Bristol. I knew where I was going with this. Short track racing at its best. Next Saturday, 1:30 Eastern on ESPN. Hope you'll join us. Also coming up next weekend, the Amalie Oil NHRA Gator Nationals from down in Gainesville, Florida. Qualifying 1:30 a.m. Eastern next Sunday, ESPN2. And the final eliminations, 7 Eastern, a week from tomorrow on ESPN2. So Trevor Bayne came down the pit lane in 10th, fuel only, came out with the lead. Kyle Larson also with fuel only. Sam Hornish Jr. restarts 7th after leading at the yellow flag. Whoa. Trouble. Larson in the wall. Bain in the wall. And the caution is out.
He put it on my door.
The 6 got extremely loose right there. And that's a shame.
Racing for the lead in turn 4. And now both with damaged race cars.
Looks like Larson got the worst of that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were talking about earlier in the show, that you're running so fast, and with the aerodynamics, you can see the 32 get kind of down on the 6, really got him loose.
You see Larson drove the car in hard, got up on the outside of Trevor. Yeah, Trevor just had to walk his car up the hill and got into the left rear of Larson.
Yeah, I think Trevor was trying so hard to get the lead back right there. He drove it off in the corner and then tried to jump back in the gas. Just a big mistake right there.
Heard a snippet of Trevor talking about the 32 car being on his door and the air and all that.
Yeah, but they were up the racetrack quite a bit. I mean, Larson gave him plenty of room.
Yeah.
Stupid kid. Still good. It didn't hurt the car.
Well, looks like it hurt that 32 a lot, Doc.
Yeah, pretty significant damage. And I think what the biggest concern is what it did to the driver inside, because Kyle said, what did I do wrong? Did I do something wrong? Did I make a mistake? Did I make a mistake? He's only had a total of 40 minutes ever on this racetrack in practice today. He said, no, you did nothing wrong, but we got some damage. You did everything you could do. They're going to try to work on the right rear. Dave.
Take a look at the right side of the 6 car first. They did ask Trevor if the steering was working well or if it was tracking straight. Pretty well, he said so. They'll work on the body damage to the right side first there, the right front, particularly where he got into Kyle Larson. You see the to try to pry that right front fender out.
Yeah, this is not what this team needed. They got kind of dug a hole for themselves at Daytona. They just needed a string of chances. They didn't need to be taking chances like this in the beginning part of the race. Close call right there with a crew member.
And from our radio,
Stop right there, Trevor. Stop.
We're listening to at this SIG, they're putting a lot of the blame on Kyle Larson there, and Kyle Larson did nothing wrong. He was doing the job that he needed to be doing, trying to take the lead, and I think they'll go back and see that was the case here.
Well, all this a result of some strategy played on the last pit stop to get Trevor Bain and Kyle Larson up to that front row, and then a race for the lead gone wrong in turn number 4. That's put us under the caution for the 5th time. Both cars returning to the racetrack after attention by their crew. This time, Bain racetrack.
Brett, are you ready to go? You got your helmet on? All right, Brett, you. All right, Brett, go, Brett, go. Oh, Trevor, not you, Brett. Trevor, stay. Plenty of time, middle of the backstretch. Stop right there, Trevor.
Communication.
Or lack thereof.
Tough day for the 6 and 32 teams, from racing to the lead to damaged. Back live, Las Vegas Motor Speedway doubled up for the restart of today's NASCAR Nationwide Series race. Still shy of halfway, and a little twist in the story of the day. When racing for the lead a moment ago, Trevor Bain and Kyle Larson tangled in turn 4. Both cars have visited the pit lane twice. Both cars are back on the racetrack for this restart. You take a look at the restart order. Brian Vickers in the 20 is the leader and is the command car for the restart, if you will, chosen the outside lane.
This could get interesting.
99, Alex Bowman. Remember the great run at Daytona. Little strategy by his team to get him up into this lead group. And he's right in the mix of this fight.
I think Brian Vickers was kind of doing a test there as far as choosing that outside. He'd restarted from the inside a couple of times, but I believe maybe got some sun on the racetrack. I think this place is getting a little slicker. Ricky Stenhouse talked about that, and I believe that that outside might become the preferred lane to restart from here later in the race.
Little 3 wide there. 30 PK, 7 Smith, 31 Allgaier. Settling that out. 33 car in the middle of that. Ty Dillon having another solid run. Here's for the lead, Sam Hornish Jr.
That 12 car really looks strong today. Looks like he's the car to beat.
Made a 3-wide move and charge to the lead earlier. Shuffled back by others' pitch strategy on a caution flag. Now has driven his way back to the front. How about this young guy in the 99 car?
And that's a lot of talent Alex Bowman has in that car. He didn't get to show it a lot last week. Got in an early accident at Phoenix. Very impressed. He had a great run at Daytona. I think they have a lot of high hopes for this season with him behind the wheel.
Yeah, he kind of got caught up in something last week, like you said. Didn't get to show what he can do, but I've been thoroughly impressed with his success that he's had so far.
19-year-old, native of Tucson, Arizona, living in the Charlotte area now. A lot of success on the ARCA circuit last year after racing legends and so on, Dave. And early in his nationwide career, Doc, is having a solid run again.
Having a great run, but how about a 19-year-old rookie who is this smart? When he came into the racetrack, he said, he went straight to Mark Martin, the 4-time winner of this race, and sat down with Mark and said, tell me what you can tell me to teach me about this racetrack. Mark said the most important thing to know is back up your corners and don't overcharge the corner. He said your car will run well. Let the racetrack come to you. He went to Mark Martin for advice, and now it's working.
Heck, I used to go talk to Mark Martin when I was 40. Wish I'd have gone when I was 20, but yeah, it's a good guy to go to. So that's an excellent effort because Martin, there's nobody better to talk to about, especially these type of racetracks than Mark Martin.
And especially this one. This is really good here.
Mentioned Ty Dillon in that 33 car for Richard Childress Racing. Richard's grandson, brother of Austin Dillon, had such a great shot at the NASCAR Nationwide Series Championship last year, did Austin, while Ty was NASCAR's Camping World Truck Series Rookie of the Year a year ago. Running that circuit again full-time, but in a limited number of nationwide starts, has been nothing short of impressive.
He finds himself inside the top 10 every time he runs in this nationwide series. It's just outside the top 10 right now, but he's very solid when he gets in these race cars.
He damaged that right front fender just a little bit early in the race when he got into Justin Allgaier. Looks like they've gotten that fixed, and he's on his way.
On board Dale Jr.
See, from that angle, he's not afraid to drive it off in the corner.
Dale Jr. started way back in the pack, and you could see he's made his way up. Running 13th now, was running 10th a little while ago. They get a little harder to pass the closer you get to the front.
Definitely. Be interesting to watch Ty Dillon if he gets in behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. here. You can see Jr. doesn't get down into the corner nearly as hard, but he'll get back to the gas sooner, carry a lot more speed off the corner, which is going to be a better way to save your tires and make passes here.
Yeah, that's exactly what Doc said about Alex Bowman when he went to talk to Mark Martin. That was the advice that Mark gave Bowman, and it looks like that's what strategy or whatever that Earnhardt is employing here. He's just soft pedaling in the corner, carrying the momentum through the middle and the speed off the corner.
Watching the dueling Dillons here. Austin on the right, fighting for third place with Brad Keselowski, while Ty on the left, involved in this fight with Allgaier and Earnhardt Jr. for 10th place. Elliott Sadler trying to work his way further forward. 11 car passing Alex Bowman in the 99 here.
Having a conversation with Elliott yesterday and over the week, the adjustment is a much bigger transition than he kind of thought, because they do things so much differently. But you know, they finished 5th last week, but they were very happy with that. They didn't do any testing really over the winter with these cars as they were building cars and getting ready. So they really were hoping to get a lot of practice yesterday to get some testing under their belt. But another solid effort here for him in this team.
11th place, 31 Allgaier, 88 Dale Jr., 77 Parker Kligerman. And tucking into the back of this fight, Brad Sweet, driving the Junior Motorsports 5 this week. He'll make about 17 appearances in that car through the course of this season.
Looks like Justin Allgaier in that 31 car has his hands full today. He didn't seem too optimistic when we heard from him before the race started. I'm not sure they've made it too much better for him.
Yeah, I think he's really struggling with the rough racetrack. We saw some of the onboard footage of him with those bumps and how it goes through the steering wheel. I think it's really upsetting his car.
All this going on well behind Sam Hornish Jr., who has gone back to the lead in this race. There is Sam in the Penske 12. That Ford Mustang out in front for the second time in this one and looking strong. The second installment this season of one of the greatest rivalries in college sports happens tonight. Number 3 Duke traveling to Chapel Hill to take on North Carolina. And if the Tar Heels can pull off the win, two teams will be tied for second in the conference going into the tournament. Saturday primetime presented by DirecTV, Duke and Carolina tonight at 9 on ESPN and live on Watch ESPN. I know you're looking forward to that one, Park.
Yeah, looking forward to it. They always have such great games.
As was the first one earlier this season. And here at Las Vegas in our NASCAR Nationwide Series race today, we are just past the midway point of the event. And Sam Hornish Jr. is out in front. Let's go and set the stories for you of some of those running toward the front of the field. Up to speed with Nationwide Insurance, beginning with Jerry Punch.
Thank you very much, Alan. Points leader, race leader, Sam Hornish Jr. said a year ago there were 6 races he should have won, but they had problems, mistakes, miscues in what they called the red zone of the race, the final 30 laps. They got to be able to hang on and not make mistakes today. Right now, Sam says the car a little bit freer on exit than he would like it. Otherwise, I'm really good. Dave.
Brian Vickers runs second, Doc. He has led 25 laps today and feels like he could get back up and challenge if he could get through the bumps better. That may be hard to correct this late in the going, but he says the race car is great. I just can't get through those bumps. As for Austin Dillon, another good race car. This run, he says the right rear of the race car is getting just a little bit loose. Big Brother has been having a pretty good run so far today, trying to bring the 3 home in the top spot. Doc?
Bush started back in 23rd, said he was going to be patient, and he was for about 4 or 5 laps, and basically passed 16 cars in 20 laps. He said the problem he's been having most of the day is the car gets aero loose. He's okay when he's by himself, but when other cars, the car gets wrecking loose sideways. They made a chassis adjustment. It's better, but not exactly where he needs to be able to win the race. And by the way, he's never won here at his home racetrack in the Nationwide Series. Behind him, in 5th position, Regan Smith. Wholesale changes on this car prior to the race. It's gotten better and better, but right now he's battling a car that's loose in, loose off. They want to make a major wedge adjustment on the next pit stop when they get a chance to get on pit road, as well as an air pressure change. Vince.
Well, in the 11 car of Elliott Sadler, he has on scuffs this run, and he says it is the loosest his car has been all day. He says he's hoped it starts to come to him, but he's not too optimistic with what he's had right now during this run. Now, big problems for the 22 of Brad Keselowski. We're going to follow up on Keselowski in a moment, but first let's go to Doc.
How about the 19-year-old Alex Bowman, the rookie, leading rookie point, finished 3rd at Daytona. Came in and took only right side tires on his last pit stop. He has not had left side tires on since lap 58. Kid doing a great job. Remember the advice from Mark Martin. Be gentle with the car and be gentle with the injury on the racetrack. That'll help you take care of your tires. Alan.
From 9th place, Brad Keselowski hits the pit lane. Vince alluded to big problems on the 22 before. Follow up on that, Vince?
From the very beginning of the race, Brad Keselowski has reported a vibration. He says the vibration is getting much, much worse now. He says he doesn't think it's the engine or even tires. They changed 4 tires on that initial stop. He says maybe it's the right front shock. Also concerned about the fact that his gauges were pegged just before he came in. They were concerned about debris on the grill. There you see him cleaning off the grill a little bit, but some definite concerns for the 22 of Brad Keselowski.
Yeah, that pit stop right there was probably more for that temperature problem that he had to get the grill clean than it was for the vibration.
But they'll take a look at, as we watch the leader go 3 wide on some lap traffic right side of the screen. They'll take a look at the tires that came off that 22 car, make sure there were no loose wheels.
Yeah, there'll be some evidence. If there's a loose wheel, there'll be evidence in the lungs of the wheel. There'll be oblongs, so they can tell that. But I believe that pit stop was probably for the gauges being pegged.
The usual post-pit stop review. Find any evidence you can to try and pinpoint the cause of the problem. So Brad Keselowski back on track right now, a lap down, 24th place for the 22. Got a lot of race still to go. Just got a couple of cars ahead of him, 1 lap down. Never know.
Well, Keselowski pitted about 25 laps sooner than most of these cars will have to come down pit road under green. And if they do come in under green, it'll kind of work itself out for him.
Sam Hornish Jr. leading more laps today than he has previously on mile-and-a-half tracks, and that's so important. People talk about the mile-and-a-half tracks as a group. Each one of them is distinct and has its own character and characteristics and demands on a car and driver, but as a group, 12 of the 33 races in the Nationwide Series this year are going to be on mile-and-a-half tracks, including 7 of the final 10. And if you're going to win the championship, you got to perform on these tracks. As we see Kyle Busch squeeze past Austin Dillon in some traffic.
Yeah, they make up such a big part of it. And I think there are things that you can learn on mile-and-a-half tracks that will translate to other places, things that you can do, whether it's a shock package or things aero-wise that will help you anywhere that you can go.
Yeah, the one thing you have with a mile-and-a-half track is speed, and when you have a lot of speed, little things make a bigger difference, especially aero changes or things that you can learn in the setup that enhance the aero. So yeah, anything that you find here helps a lot at a high-speed track, but it also helps a little bit at shorter racetrack.
Interesting seeing some things play out here. Kyle Busch getting by Austin Dillon. How much Sam Hornish has gotten away from everybody else in the field, and this is really the first really long extended green flag run we've had in this race. All these cars pitted, sorry DJ, all these cars pitted at lap 83, and only a couple did when we had that quick caution with the race for the lead that went bad between Bain and Larson. So now these guys have had the first extended run of the race, and any performance flaw in their car is going to point itself out.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And you start realizing now things that you really have to start talking to your crew chief about.
31 Allgaier, 5 Sweet, 60 Pastrana, 30 Piquet. This is all from 13th position on back. NASCAR Nationwide Series today at Las Vegas Motor Speedway as Travis Pastrana has a little bobble in that 60 car.
Shoot, that's nothing what he's used to.
Yeah. Just joining us, just past halfway in this race. We've seen 5 caution flags so far. Stories on the day. Sam Hornish Jr.'s led a lot of laps in this one, been very strong. Trevor had a couple of shots at the front, but he and Kyle Larson were involved in a crash racing for the lead, though both have continued on their way. Sam not having won in over a year now, and if he wants to win the championship this season in the Nationwide Series, needs to win races. He's got a good one underneath him today.
He's got a 4.2-second lead over Brian Vickers right now. That 12 cars look strong actually from the start of practice today, and it doesn't look like they've lit up any so far, Doc.
They have not at all, Andy. They're absolutely on it. But right now, the concern may be just to, since you got this kind of lead, save a little fuel. Greg Irwin knows by doing some calculations a moment ago that they can go 57 laps on fuel. That means they got to make it right now to lap 143. That's Greg, left side of your screen. He has told Sam we should be okay. But if they get to 143 with as good as this race car is, they should be able to make it home without having to stop again if we stay green.
Yeah, making it to 143 is the question. Most of our calculators up here have them maybe a little bit shy.
It's close.
Well, we'll see if that changes the story of the race. When we continue from Las Vegas, Hornish Jr. well out in front. 200 miles complete, 100 miles to go at Las Vegas Motor Speedway in today's Sam's Town 300 for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Opposite fortunes for the Penske Racing entries in this one. Sam Hornish Jr. leads in the 12 car, but Brad Keselowski in the 22 is about to hit the pit lane. The problem's getting worse on that car, Vince.
Well, they certainly are. And the splitter, you're getting a good look at it there, particularly on the right side, is really taking a beating. So they're going to fix the splitter and address that issue first and foremost. And Brad Keselowski on the radio trying to diagnose the problem.
Yeah, something's happened, and it's just let it fall down, whether we've lost height on a spring or something, but it's drugged the splitter to the point that it's so narrow in between the bolts that it's just sagging. That's what you're feeling, shaking. So we're going to get a plan on actually, and the way it's bouncing, Jeremy, it's more likely that it had a shock issue or something.
Well, there you see the guys that are working on the front of the car, replacing that splitter. Also on the right side of your screen, the man that is on the right front working on a shock issue as well. Temperature problems for the 22 also, and Brad Keselowski had to back it down to about 3/4 throttle. He was warned by NASCAR that he had to pick up his speed because he was not getting to the minimum speed. So a lot of issues for the 22, a couple of laps down. And by the way, as you see his teammate and the race leader, Sam Hornish Jr., Hornish had also at one time reported a vibration, and that was relayed to Brad. So whether or not those two would be connected, don't know that at this point, but certainly something that the 12 is being kept abreast of as well.
All right, Vince, thanks.
Yeah, but I was down in the garage. These two cars, the 12 and 22, have completely different setups spring-wise. So I'm not sure you'll see any problem with Sam's car in this regard. And I talked to Greg Irwin. It's something that they've been working on that they wanted to try. They didn't have a lot of time to practice with it, so they decided just to put this new setup in the car. And Brad had kind of opted to stay with what has worked with them before here. So I don't expect Sam to have this kind of problem.
Hornish out in front by 4 seconds. Other things going on. Parker Kligerman has just taken the 77 car behind the wall from 11th position. It's only been there a moment or so. And here they come back out onto the racetrack. So we'll get the follow-up there on what's happened to that car. But he was 11th. And caution is coming out for debris.
Caution, debris. Caution for debris. Go ahead, Greg.
And Kyle Busch had just taken the second spot away from Brian Vickers right before the caution came out.
Be interested to see if that debris isn't something that maybe came off of the 77 of Kligerman.
I didn't hear the location of the debris in the call for the caution, but it puts us under the yellow for the 6th time, and just in the nick of time for green flag pit stops to be saved. Most of these cars were going to have to come in the next couple of laps, and now they'll get to do it under the yellow flag, and it sets us up right on the edge of that fuel window.
Yeah, right there. We heard some guys could go 57 laps. It's only going to be stretching it 3 or 4 laps maybe to make this pit stop here. Probably see some fuel conservation going on this next run.
Very long green flag run just wrapped up by these teams. And so the crews will go to work, adjustments to be made. Now, was it Doc called it earlier, the red zone part of the race? The critical time is now. Hornish, Kyle Busch, Brian Vickers, Austin Dillon, and Regan Smith, the top 5 coming out of the pit lane, Doc.
And Kyle Busch will hit first. Alan, the 4 tires are going to wait on fuel. Kyle said the track has changed. His car was really good the last 4 laps. He was 2/10 faster than Sam Hornish. Sam Hornish, meanwhile, will take right side tires. They're going to get completely full of fuel. Now they made the change to 4 tires. Slight chassis adjustment because he's a little free off on exit. Got to get it full of fuel. Wait on fuel for Sam Hornish. Dave.
4th and 3rd right of your screen. Austin Dillon, his car was a little bit better, but still free off. They'll make an air pressure adjustment for him in 4 tires. Brian Vickers down on the track bar, wedge adjustment. His car was mostly loose off on throttle. They'll also take 4 tires. Vickers will leave, and will he win the race off pit road? It looks like Kyle Busch.
That waiting on fuel that we heard called by Doc on the Hornish pit stop is going to drop him from the lead back to 3rd position. And the deck is shuffled again here in Las Vegas. Our Ram race rundown from Vegas today. The hometown hero Kyle Busch now leading this race after starting deep in the field. Can he finally get that elusive Nationwide Series win at this track? He's in good shape to try. It's been a bumpy day for some people.
It's a very rough racetrack on the bottom. You can see Brian Vickers leading there. Got loose through those bumps in 1 and 2. Lost the lead at that time.
Trevor Bayne racing. Kyle Larson for the lead at lap 87. It didn't work out.
Yeah, speaking of bumps, he got a little bump from Trevor Bayne right there. Kyle Larson did.
Both have returned to the race after repairs, and Brad Keselowski, one of the pre-race favorites, also needing some repairs just recently.
Yeah, I don't know if he had a shot to go bad, but it started dragging the splitter. They had to come in and make major repairs to the front of the 22 car.
Keselowski now 8 laps down and still on the pit lane with the hood up as we get ready to go back racing in what is now a somewhat curious situation. So, Sam Hornish Jr. leading this race on a couple of different times today in that 12. Now having to wait on fuel on that pit stop, lining up third on the restart. A couple of guys just topped off the fuel. Brad Sweet and Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Parker Kligerman ducking behind the wall briefly. And now Jamie back on the racetrack.
Well, about 10 laps ago, Parker Kligerman said, something's smoking. I smell it. I think it's us. And then all of a sudden he said, guys, we got to take it to the garage. The entire team, including crew chief, ran back to the garage. Just then he said, well, it had popped out of gear, but I think it's okay. I just have a cut left rear tire. They said, come back out here. So he hustled back out. They changed the left rear. He got on the track and said, guys, that was a stupid call on my part, and I feel like an idiot.
I guess it was just a flat left rear tire, and he thought he had bigger issues and took it to the garage area.
Well, at 180 miles an hour, it's got to be a difficult thing to diagnose behind the wheel.
Well, that's why the first thing you do when you come, you bring the car to pit road and then take it to the garage area. Let the crew kind of diagnose what the issue is.
So we were about to go back racing. NASCAR just added another lap. They've spotted some debris out on the racetrack, and these 2 now added laps of caution, they might just make a difference in how this race plays out to the finish, because everybody coming off the pit lane was really close on fuel.
Yeah, those 2 caution laps can make a difference. We saw, like you said, a couple of cars topped off, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and the 5 car of Brad Sweet.
And everybody else getting a chance to save some fuel here, running around under the caution flag. So while we get ready for the restart, remind you that the NBA Sunday Showcase this week features a couple of great matchups. 1 Eastern time, the Celtics and the Thunder. And then at 3:30, it's the Bulls and the Lakers. Coverage tipping off with Kia NBA Countdown at 12:30. Then Celtics Thunder at 1, Bulls Lakers at 3:30, all Sunday on ABC. 1 to go again. Dale Jr. topping off the fuel again. Interesting, Dave.
13th and almost the last car on the lead lap, so really nothing to lose. This is the 3rd trip down pit lane on this stop. They took a long time to try to raise the front end of the car off the track. Went to the shocks underneath the hood to get that car raised up a little bit because it's just bouncing off the track. You can see Junior pull in here, and then we'll pretty much lose our shot here as they lift the hood and work on his car. But having done that, then they just came and topped off a couple more times, and they will be able to make it to the end on fuel. Green-white checkers might be a little bit of an issue.
Okay, sticker time here.
Might be a little bit of an issue for everybody. So we're going to go back to racing now with 56 to go. And that red and white and black number 12, who has been set back a couple of times from the lead in this race by the race unfolding, has managed to race back to the front each time. Now he's got Kyle Busch in front of him.
Wouldn't be surprised to watch, see him try to make a 3-wide move once again down to the apron. Kyle Busch hard to beat on a restart, though. He might just settle in.
So there's the restart order. And all kind of things in play. Aggressiveness, the difficulty of this racetrack, the fuel mileage situation, and some tough competition at the front of the pack. Hornish with a big slide there, and Austin Dillon gave him a nice break off turn 4. Now getting tight up front. Vickers 20, Kyle 54, Hornish 12, Austin Dillon 3. That's Dale Jr. just coming up to speed off a pit stop just as the field went green.
Yeah, I think he had a flat left side tire there and had to get back to pit road. Sam Hornish had a huge run that last time off of turn 4. Looked like he might have intended to go below the white line to try to pass Vickers. He blocked that effort, though.
Two Jogans racing machines side by side for the race lead at the front of the pack. We talked about earlier, Andy, if you were going to beat Kyle Busch, it might have been one of those guys that had similar equipment.
That was actually Dale that said that, talking about Brian Vickers. Brian's had a great car all day and actually has been ahead of Kyle for a lot of the race. I'm surprised that Hornish didn't get going a little quicker there on that restart, as good as his car's been all day.
Elliott Sadler now into the picture. 5th place in the 11 car.
Yeah, we probably have as much sun on the racetrack now, and even though the temperature is not that high, anytime you get sun, that track temp will heat up a little bit, probably changing things around from what guys have had earlier in this race. So we'll see who made the best adjustments.
See Elliott Sadler, Regan Smith racing right there. I talked to Regan after that little brief practice session, and he was not happy with his car at all. He said he felt like they'd be lucky to finish 20th today. He's been in the top 5 for the last probably 50, 60 laps.
Confirming it was a flat tire on the Dale Jr. car that had him on pit road as the field went green. He's a lap down now in 17th place. This the race for 3rd. Hornish continuing to try and find a way around the 3 car of Austin Dillon to try and get back up and race for the lead.
Hornish has a good run this time off turn 4. Goes to the apron to get clear.
And the only thing it may, I believe, in my opinion, the only thing to keep this 12 car from winning this race today is fuel. This car is so, he's advantage of that. Oh, that looked something that had something different before.
Looking for his second NASCAR.
Is better. And AutoZone. Get proven tough Duralast brakes. The official brakes of NASCAR. Sold only at AutoZone.
Final 40 laps today at NASCAR Nationwide Series racing at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and Sam Hornish Jr. has opened up a gap of a 2nd and 8/10 on Kyle Busch, the 2nd place car. It wasn't all that long ago, about 8 laps ago, that Hornish passed Kyle Busch for the race lead. And Kyle sees that 12 car driving away.
Dude, you ain't gonna believe how fast that car is. 10-4, nothing coming right now. Lots of laps left, you never know. Everybody's worried about fuel.
Well, Kyle, I agree. That 12 car's fast.
Now, I wonder if he realizes that's what they've said about him about 50 sometimes.
Yeah, and maybe like last week.
Yeah. Now, what a start to the season it's been for Hornish and the 12 team. After being shut out from victory lane last year, he finished the season before with that win at Phoenix, and a lot of folks thought that team might have the potential to knock off 3-4 wins and contend for the title. They did have a good finish in the championship, but did not get to victory lane. Well, this season at Daytona, right, he fell out of the lead draft, 17 seconds behind. Brad Keselowski went back, picked him up. They drove right back into it. Sam missed the mayhem in the last lap and finished 2nd. Then at Phoenix last week, involved in the early crash, involved in the spin. They came back and finished 7th. And this new pairing of Sam Ford with this team and crew chief Greg Irwin, it's sure showing some strength early in the season.
Yeah, as impressive as he's been today, I've been impressed by those first 2 races on how they were able to react and to rebound from some of the misfortune they had and maintain the lead, even though they were tied for the lead coming here in the point standings. So I've really seen some great things out of this team. And that Greg Irwin is a really, really good crew chief. I talked to him this morning. Not afraid to take chances either. They took a chance on the setup on this car. It's a little different than, like I said, their teammate, Brad Keselowski, but it really has paid off today.
And Sam Hornish earlier talking with us about what Greg Irwin has brought to his racing effort.
Greg's made himself very open. I don't believe that I've ever had somebody that works on my car as far as the crew chief. to be as thorough as what he's been in the offseason. You know, he's real hungry. You know, the last couple of years haven't gone exactly the way that he's wanted to go. And he's had that success in the past, so he knows that he can achieve it again if he puts himself in the right position. So I think that he's really trying extra hard.
And showing some very so far this season.
I can see him on the radio talking just about every lap to Sam, and I'm watching the lap times and I'll see a fast lap, then I'll see one that's kind of mediocre. I'm just wondering just how close they are on fuel, Doc. Have they let you know?
Well, they are talking back and forth, Andy, as you just said a moment ago. And Greg Irwin, remember we told you that a year ago we went back and watched every race from last year and realized that it was the final 30 laps, the red zone, he called it, when this 12 team had their mistakes and miscues. He hopes that doesn't happen. Basically, they have told Sam, you should be good. Here again, the word should be good to the checkered flag. You will not be good for a green, white, checkered. Stay what you got. Stay the course. We should be okay for the checkered. We don't have an issue. We'll be fine. Now, what about the 54 car? At the beginning of the day, we talked about how Kyle Busch had never won a race on his home racetrack in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. He had come so close as the white flag to see it go away. Well, guess what, folks? In their pits, based on calculations, the crew chief, there's Adam Stevens, he has told the crew he thinks they will be on fumes on the white flag lap. He said, we will absolutely be on fumes when we take the white flag. He said, if we have a green, white checkered, I'm taking my radio off and I'm walking to the garage. I don't even want to see it because Kyle wants this so bad.
That's fun, Doc.
Yeah, the last race that was won here on fuel mileage is to Mark Martin, and he pitted on lap 40.
We talked it happen, but in the last 3 years, the shortest late run has been 25 laps. So you can't count on that little dash to the finish at the end to twist this one around.
Now, you got to be saving some fuel as a driver right now, probably. If your car is good enough to be able to do that, makes it easier. But you know, those 2 extra laps, we're going to go back to that they ran under caution and getting the field set and everything there could be the difference in making it or not.
I saw Elliott Sadler. It looked like he made a big run up to his teammate Brian Vickers. I thought he was going to be able to pass him easily, and then all of a sudden he kind of settled it back in. Not sure he's not saving fuel at this point.
Getting you a look back through some in the top 5 and top 10 here as we come to the final 30 laps. Weren't with us earlier. Sam Hornish Jr. has been the dominant driver on the day, though others have taken their turns at the front. A couple of the major headlines. Hornish has been shuffled back a couple of times, has raced back to the front each time. Trevor Bayne and Kyle Larson crashed racing for the lead just after a restart. They both continued. Bayne is running 7th, though Larson is 5 laps down in 27th. And now the fuel mileage situation playing out toward the end of the race. If we don't see another yellow flag, who's going to have enough in the tank to get to the finish? Vegas is a great place for gambling. Somehow you knew I'd get that into.
I think we got a lot of gamblers out here right now.
Yeah. Trevor Bayne doing a nice job of coming back. They made some repairs to this car after he got into the wall earlier.
Regan Smith, top 10 day so far after having a car that they described to you, Andy, earlier today as not what they wanted.
He said he needed a mouth guard to negotiate the bumps. Said he'd be lucky to finish in the top 20, but he's in the top 10 now.
There's Ty Dillon shooting to keep his record perfect of finishing in the top 10 in every Nationwide Series race he's ever entered. He's 3 for 3, trying to make it 4 for 4.
They might be holding him back, making him run that truck series. Grandpa might need to step it up.
And Alex Bowman, I'll call him the young sensation with what he's shown us so far this season in that 99 car, running in the top 10. No less an authority than Mark Martin.
Wow. That's some pretty good praise right there. Be proud of that.
Yeah, it is impressive what he's doing, too. He just has such really good car control, and I think he relays good information to the crew and just pretty much keeps himself out of trouble, but gets a lot out of the race car.
And if you weren't with us earlier, Bowman went to Mark Martin to seek his counsel on driving this racetrack that he'd never been on before today. Nelson Piquet Jr. talked with him in the garage area yesterday. So much
improve as
where he had race cars on the lead lap. Justin Allgaier earlier in the race and a couple of others did a nice job at being patient but making passes. A very solid day for Travis here.
Travis in 12th position. The only other car on the lead lap is Brad Sweet. in the 5 car, and he is running in 13th position. And still on the lead lap in his first drive of this season behind the wheel of that 5. Casey Kane, Jimmy Johnson, now Brad Sweet behind the wheel of that machine. We'll see Brad with a run here for the next couple of events before Casey returns to that car at Texas Motor Speedway mid-April. So there you go, 13 on the lead lap as Sam Hornish Jr. continues to lay down the laps, having a great run in that 12 car, but much to be decided yet, including how many of the leaders have enough fuel to the finish. Often having the fastest car here at Las Vegas isn't the winning car.
Still, I take the fast car.
1.2 seconds now, Hornish to Kyle Busch. That's just a little bit smaller than it was before.
If we can get him, we'll get him. We'll race for it. If not, we get to 10 to go. I might back you down a little bit.
Adam Stevens, the crew chief there, on the radio to Kyle.
Yeah, I've been watching this gap. It's been about a second and a half from the leader, Sam Hornish, back to this 54 car, Kyle Busch. I'm just wondering, there's a little bit of cat and mouse going on between. I think Sam's saving fuel, but also so is Kyle.
Yeah, and I think that Sam Hornish as a leader, if it were someone besides Kyle Busch in second, I think he would probably be taking it even easier than what he is. But having Kyle Busch back there, you always have to wonder, what is he saving for the end of this race? Because he knows how talented and smart that Kyle Busch is driving these cars.
And I saw Greg Irwin talking on the radio constantly just a few laps ago, and I think he's really keeping Sam abreast of this gap. And like I said, it's been rocking around a second and a half. The last time by, it was actually 2.3 seconds.
19 to go.
Lap traffic and how you catch him at this point in the race going to play a factor in that a little bit too.
Yeah, we're definitely in the red zone now. You see Greg Irwin get a little nervous.
Thinking about the story of Sam Hornish, right? Guy, Indy 500 winner, 3-time champion in the Eyes on IndyCar series. Wanted to go stock car racing. Didn't feel that he had a challenge left on that side, but this was a huge challenge. Wanted to take it. Roger Penske took him stock car racing. It didn't work out as well as they wanted to in the initial run, and with a lack of sponsorship backing, Sam had to step back. Stayed loyal to Roger Penske. Roger Penske stayed loyal to him. Put together the effort for Sam to run for the Nationwide Series Championship last year. Had a good, solid season. Put together the effort for Sam to compete for the championship this year, all in the hopes that at some point they'll have the funding together and the effort together to take Sam back full-time to the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. And we have a car sliding in turn 2, down the banking, and the caution is out, and this changes everything. Scott Lagasse Jr.
Do not want to be Greg Irwin right here.
Well, this one with 17 laps to go now. And has everybody scratching their heads about what to do. Do you come in and take fuel? Do you stay out? Do you need, are fresh tires worth anything? How do you play it?
I think fresh tires worth a little bit. You got 17 laps to go, and its caution's definitely going to help some of the cars that were close on fuel. You see Kyle Busch trying to save a little fuel.
Lagasse Jr. running in 19th place, couple laps down.
Like he had made a pass on the entrance of turn 1. Couldn't carry the speed through the center, got a little bit loose. Yeah, this is where being the leader obviously is a great thing, but almost the most difficult position to be in as a crew chief here, Andy.
Yeah, it is. This is a very, very difficult decision for Greg Irwin, and this fuel situation being so tight. There's some of these guys, I'd like to be able to know all the numbers here to see where they're at as far as making this stop. There's some guys that may feel like they have to pit here because they can't make it.
Pit road open.
Looks like Kyle's that driver. Nah, he's staying out. I thought maybe he just knew he couldn't make it. It's a very tough decision.
We've only got 12 cars on the lead lap. Make it 13 with Brad Sweet getting the free pass. So some of the guys toward the back end of the lead lap are going to stop here. Top 7 stay out. The rest come in. Ty Dillon, Nelson Piquet, Regan Smith, Alex Bowman, Travis Pastrana will come in and pit. So caution flag out with 16 laps to go, and most of the front runners have stayed on the track, including our in-race reporter, Elliott Sadler, who runs in 4th.
Hey, Elliott, Dale Jarrett, you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Man, you've had a good, solid day there. We were noticing after that last restart, really made a run towards the front. Were you saving fuel there? What's your game plan here?
Well, we're definitely close on fuel, and I think all of us are. So maybe saving a little bit, but this caution definitely is going to help us with that. Just track position is very important. We made some good adjustments today to the interstate batteries car. You never know, man, when you have these late cautions, anything can happen. So hopefully we get us there with a good restart, stay up front, and see what happens here at the end.
Hey, Elliott, we've seen changing conditions all day. Sun coming out now. You've got a lot more rubber on the track. How has the track changed for you?
Definitely the track has changed a lot. I mean, it's right now is as hot as it's been all day. It's definitely just getting slicker. So, DJ, you know how that is. Whatever problems you were fighting, it's just kind of amplified those certain problems a little bit. So we've tried to adjust to the sun and adjust to the rubber being laid down on the track. We feel good about the adjustments we've made, and, you know, we'll see how we end up.
All right, Elliott, thanks for talking. Good luck in these last laps.
Yes, pit forward.
Well, judging by how some of these restarts have been earlier in the race with the 3 wide down into turn 1, this is going to be a little exciting.
Yeah, one other thing that makes it more exciting, when these cars are low on fuel, they don't like to get started well, and you may see some cars running out of fuel on the restarts if they don't keep these things, the fuel up next to the pickup. One thing is they still have 15 laps to go, so they've probably still got a decent amount of fuel in there.
We saw Kyle Busch down on the flat like he was coming to pit road, then turn back up onto the racetrack. Kyle clear of the commitment cone.
I just wonder if Kyle Busch would have come on down pit road, how many more he might have drug in behind him there, and really got himself in a great position with tires and plenty of fuel.
And were they going down there trying to make the 12 think they were going to pit and see if they could catch him? Because there were a few lap cars in between them. Well, field's going to get the 1 to go signal here. And for Kyle Busch, a nationwide series win here in Las Vegas. One of the few things that has eluded him in this particular division. Now, again, I point out, Kyle did win the Sprint Cup Series race here in 2009. He has won at this racetrack. But in a series in which he's been so dominant, and in a race that he probably could have expected to have a chance to win reasonably based on his performance everywhere else, for this one to have eluded him has been kind of a tough one.
Yeah, we're going to see maximum effort here for these last 13 laps to go from Kyle Busch, though.
Doc?
Adam Stevens, you were talking to Kyle a moment ago when the caution came out. Kyle said something about coming down for a splash. You waved him off to stay out. Now, are you comfortable? You got enough to make it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, we're just playing a little gamesmanship with the guys who are competitors there. We got plenty of fuel to get to the end.
Okay, well, Kyle was very concerned. He even asked to come down pit road for a splash. Adam said, I think we're going to be okay, so stay out. So, knowing Kyle, I hope they are.
Well, knowing everybody else is listening on the scanners.
Yeah, he sounded pretty confident right there, Adam.
Yeah. All right, doubled up for the restart. 13 laps to go. Hornish has chosen the outside lane in the red and white 12. Kyle Busch to his inside. Vickers and Sadler in row 2. Dillon, Austin, and Trevor Bayne in row 3. Will 13 be a lucky number for one of these drivers on this restart with 13 to go?
Yeah, who spins the tires right here? Sam Hornish for one.
Oh, trouble, backstretch.
Behind you, caution behind.
Yellow flag is out. That is Larson. Whose car was already damaged in an
Alright, he
earlier
stopped on the
incident.
backstretch there. 52 just went straight into him.
Car pretty well destroyed now.
Good to see Kyle climbing from that car.
It's done.
Said that a couple of times already this year.
Yeah.
Man's taking some hard hits.
Joey Gase in the 52, the other driver involved in this. And the yellow flag out with now just 12 laps to go in this one.
Yeah, we want to keep an eye on this white car in the middle. Like this is kind of where it started. Oh, man.
Yeah, he was slow and looked like he got a tap by 51 car. Sent him up the racetrack. Wow, hard hit there.
Yeah. Ryan Sieg in the 51 car. So contact from the 51 of Sieg into the 52 of Joey Gase as Gase was kind of sliding back into traffic, slamming Kyle Larson's car into the outside wall. Fortunately, he's climbed out of that one okay. Well, while they clean up the mess on the backstretch, we'll take a minute and remind you about next Saturday's Nationwide Series action in Thunder Valley. On the High Bank Half Mile at Bristol, 1:30 Eastern on ESPN, a little Rock'em Sock'em short track racing. Should be a lot of fun. Also next weekend, the Amalie Oil NHRA Gator Nationals down in Gainesville, Florida. 1:30 a.m. Eastern Time next Sunday for qualifying on ESPN2. And the final eliminations, 7 Eastern Time, Sunday, March 17th, ESPN2. There is the mess that is Kyle Larson's car, involved in an accident earlier racing for the lead with Trevor Bayne, then back out on the racetrack running a handful of laps down when he got turned into the outside wall a moment ago in turn number 2. And a hard hit.
See right here, looks like he may be taking the steering wheel off.
There's no maybe. That steering wheel's off.
It's coming off.
That's a little premature to do that. I know the car's on fire, but leaves you in a very vulnerable position there.
Not something you want to do.
Nope.
So an awful lot of cleanup needed to be done on the backstretch. They're working as fast as they can to tidy it up and get us back onto the green while the yellow's out. Doc, this take the fuel concerns away from the race leader?
Well, let's find out about it. Greg Irwin calling the shots for Sam Hornish, and Greg had told the team, he said, this year, guys, when we get in the red zone, we got to score, which means win on the racetrack. Well, you're in the red zone. Do you have enough race car and fuel to pull it off the win today?
Yeah, we've got both. These cautions right here are going to help everyone. That was close, and certainly our car's been getting real good gas mileage. These Mustangs are super terrific, fuel efficient, and Sam is driving the wheels off it, and he's shown all day today that he's been able to drive through a couple of them to get the lead. So obviously he's got one of the best in the business right there behind him, and the only lap that counts is the last one. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be a good show.
All right, we'll let you go. Let's check in with Dave Burns.
Doc, Trevor Bayne's all the way back up to 4th after being as low as 24th on the lap 91 restart. Mike Kelly, crew chief, how did you guys get this thing back in the game?
And we've had a really good car, even though it's got banged up. The guys did a great job repairing it, and Trevor's done a phenomenal job out there behind the wheel. Can't thank these guys enough and the World Financial Group for being here on the car today and what a great crowd here at Las Vegas. It's going to be a great show at the end. Nationwide Insurance couldn't be happier, and it's going to be an awesome finish here.
How's the fuel and how's the balance?
The balance is a little tighter than we'd like to be, and I think it's because of the damage we got. We're fine on fuel right now. We'll see what happens here.
We'll see what Trevor can do with racing for the lead this time. Vince?
With Chris Gale, he's the crew chief for Elliott Sadler. Elliott, would he prefer the inside or the outside on this restart?
I think we'd prefer the outside, but at least I think it's going to be the 54 on the inside when the 12 chooses the outside lane. So we'll just see. I think we're going to have teammates lined up on the bottom, and hopefully the 54 gets off really good and we can follow them through there.
I know Elliott's talked about the car being a little free throughout the course of the day. Do you have the race car to get it done here in these final laps?
I think we do. I know we have the driver to get it done, so we just need to see what happens here and hopefully get a clean start.
Thanks, Chris. Alan?
All right, Vince, they're doubled up. There'll be 7 laps to go in this one. Last time, Sam Hornish in that outside lane didn't get going the best, but Elliott Sadler behind him kind of pushed him to get him going. Now, Elliott's down behind Kyle Busch, as we heard the talk about the Gibbs teammates together a minute ago.
Yeah, Elliott wasn't giving Sam any option to get out of the throttle. He was spinning the tires, but he had horsepower pushing him from behind.
All the Gibbs cars lined up on the bottom. And Brian Vickers back there in 5th.
Yep. There's Brian in the 20. And Trevor Bayne. Sorry, DJ, in that 6 car. What a rally.
Unbelievable. Yeah, just a great job by him. These inside cars face such a difficult job as they get down into 1, trying to stay wide open in the throttle going through those bumps.
Sam Hornish Jr. has led 107 laps today. The next highest total is 27. That 12 car's been dominant today along with its driver, but he's got 7 more laps to go to see if he can win in Vegas. Here we go. Nobody backing off an inch. That'd have been Kyle by fractions. 6 to go.
See Elliott Sadler and Trevor Bayne still side by side for 3rd and 4th.
Clear.
Big run through the center of the corner there for Hornish. Back to the lead.
Clear by 3.
Sadler 11, Bayne 6, 3rd place.
Sadler getting a little push from his teammate. That could help or hurt as you get down into the corner.
Trevor Bayne not giving up.
Earlier in the week, we expect.
PK just scraped the wall up in 2.
Sorry, man, sorry. Don't give up on it. Don't give up.
We stay green.
2 to go right here.
What a fight for spots. Now Dillon 3, Sadler 11. That's going to be for 5th place as Hornish is inside his final 2 laps.
To go out and make everything work, especially in late restarts.
Yeah, you got to give Sam a lot of credit. Drove a great race, but I tell you, Greg Irwin put a setup under this race car that was unbeatable today.
We're into the final lap. If the caution comes out now, the race is over. And Hornish clear of Kyle Busch. Fuel should not be an issue. They talked about this season needing to finish strong in the final part of the race. Well, how about having to get away from Kyle Busch on 2 restarts inside the final 15 laps? That's closing strong. And for the 2nd time in his NASCAR Nationwide Series career, Sam Hornish Jr. is going to victory lane.
Great car. I appreciate it. That's an awesome race. Thanks, guys.
Good job, guys.
for a driver and a crew chief who've had their share of lumps and struggles in the last few years in this very tough business that is stock car racing, they've paired up and they're going to victory lane in just their third effort together.
Yeah, this is a combination we're going to see all year long up front.
And for Kyle Busch, trying to sort out what left him one spot short. What a drive today, 23rd to 2nd.
Hey, baby.
Atta baby.
Well, as a race driver, that moment's what you live for. It's just so hard to come by.
Yeah, they're hard to come by, so you want to enjoy every minute of it. And if I go back to the conversation I had with Brad Keselowski and with Sam Hornish earlier this year, they were talking about going over to these Fords, how much better they thought their program was going to be aerodynamically and the engine, and they put it all together here today for sure.
It's going to be the burnout while exiting the race car.
Now, that's cool. That's cool right there. What's the flag?
You can do all that and catch the flag, huh? It's going to be pretty impressive.
So Sam Hornish Jr. winning today at Las Vegas. Kyle Busch second, Brian Vickers third, Trevor Bayne fourth, Elliott Sadler is fifth. Let's check downstairs with Dave Burns.
Well, last week everybody was chasing Kyle Busch. Kyle, describe what it was like trying to chase a 12 car today.
I know what everybody else felt like last week, but it stinks, man. You know, just fought real hard all day and had a great piece. You know, I can't say enough about Adam and these guys, everybody on this Monster Energy Camry. Just it's good to drive, just wasn't fast enough. You know, there at the end just felt like we were getting beat everywhere, just all the way around the racetrack, solid 10th and a half or two. And it's, you know, you kind of hate to see that, especially with so many mile-and-a-half racetracks this year that we got beat like that there. But, you know, these guys will go to work hard, and, you know, we'll continue to try to get better, make improvements. And second's not bad, so, you know, we'll see what we get here in the next couple weeks.
Did you feel like you might have had it today, though, and finally broken the nationwide string here at Las Vegas for yourself?
Nah, you never count it until the checker flag flies.
Kyle Busch, a strong second-place run today. Vince?
And his teammate was in third place, and that is Brian Vickers, his best finish of the season. A little bit loose at the end. What was the difference for you? You were digging for third, that's for sure.
It was very loose. Well, you know what? The good news is we got a top 10, which means 10% off for DollarGeneral.com. But the guys did a good job. We started off too loose. We put wedge in it, but it hurt us through the bumps. It was the only place that the 12 was beating us. We took it back out at the end, hoping to get through the bumps, and we just got too loose. But it's a good nationwide insurance race today, and I'm just really proud of the effort by the guys.
Thanks, Brian. Dave?
And Trevor Bayne breaking it down with crew chief Mike Kelly and Jack Rouse. Trevor, can we get a quick comment from you? Thanks, bud. Hey, that's all right. Tough day for you to begin with. Talk about the incident with Kyle Larson and then coming back from that to finish fourth.
Yeah, I mean, these guys never got down on me all day, and they built me a car that should be sitting in victory lane right now. And it's unfortunate that we had to battle back, but even with damage, it was still a fourth-place race car, and I'm really thankful that they give me cars like that. You know, Kyle will learn it's just something you don't know how to. You don't know about side force when you short track race. That's not something you use. It's not something you can do. And so I remember my first couple races in Nationwide that put it on somebody's door. I think here last year I did that to somebody even after being here for 3 years. So you just got to learn it with experience. Air is so important in these cars. Whether you touch bodies or not, the air does a lot. And he put it on our door, and we wrecked there in turn 4. But I'm really proud of these guys, like I said, for battling back with World Financial Group to be able to finish fourth and have a solid points day. We're ready to win this Nationwide Insurance Championship, and we're going to fight for it.
Great comeback today for Trevor Bayne. Vince?
Never want to argue with the top 5, but I know Elliott Sadler was thinking you had something a little bit better than that. Still a solid day for you guys today.
Man, I am so proud of everybody on this Interstate Batteries race team, and we get so much from all of the dealers and Norm Miller and the whole gang. I want to say thank you to the guys, and we're getting better. Chris and I learned a lot about each other, and when we made it 3 wide for the lead, we had the right line. I had a great run, and the caution came out, and then we just got caught on the inside down that last restart. And I busted it wide open. But anyway, great run for our team. I think we're going to get better as we learn more about each other, but we're definitely happy with top fives right now. We just got to make it a little better.
Well done, E. AB?
All right, Vince, thanks. Those some of the drivers who chased Sam Hornish Jr. to the checkered flag. Sam has found his way to Las Vegas Motor Speedway's victory lane.
And a shower of suds. By the way, this is Roger Penske's very first win at Las Vegas Motor Speedway as Sam climbs out and celebrates. There's Greg Irwin talking about getting to the red zone and making it. Boy, what a way to finish. Sam, today when we talked this morning, you said 6 times a year ago you had a chance to win but couldn't finish the deal. Today you finished it and you beat Kyle Busch at his home track. How'd you do it?
Had a really good race car, and the guys at Penske Racing gave me an awesome race car. The car was really good on restarts. Got to thank Rob Shate's power for that, and just really excited to be able to get the Worth Group guys all to victory lane. It's an awesome feeling. Thank God, thank my family. Can't wait to get home to see my wife and my little girls, my mom and dad and everybody, and just enjoy the having a car that's this good. I mean, I'm only winded because of trying to get in and out of the car and all that good stuff, and the way that the car was handled was just perfect, and I could take my time, and dreams are made of how cars like that run, and Kyle put up a heck of a fight and raced me clean, so it was a real fun race.
Sam Hornish's dreams came true today at Las Vegas. Alan?
Jackpot today for Sam, and setting his effort to win the Nationwide Series championship on a high-speed course. And it's off to the short track in Bristol next Saturday, and then the big 2-mile track in Southern California the week after. Some great venues coming up in this opening stretch of the season. Up next, college basketball, the Ohio Valley Tournament, Murray State and Belmont. So in Vegas today, it's Penske Racing and Sam Hornish Jr. who dominate and take home the jackpot as the winner of this 300-miler. We'll talk to you next weekend from Thunder Valley.